Today, we're going to talk a little bit about technological change. In particular, we're going to focus on what it means to actually design tools throughout history. We'll then zoom into the digital revolution, thinking about what happened during the 1950s and really thinking about the implications for design today. And then we'll close with spending some time on the innovation age, really asking questions around what it actually means to innovate. And so let's dig in. So let's talk about a history of designing tools. From axe to drone, humans have been designing, building, and using technology for a very long time. Human evolution, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the march of modern society may be marked by how we learn about the world around us and then apply that scientific knowledge through technology. Our iterative agricultural evolutions each depended on the tools that we built to really help us manipulate the earth and mass produce food for humans. We built tools to grow food. We built tools to build. These laid the foundation to help us create more tools to construct entire civilizations. We built tools to protect ourselves, and like with the Chinese invention of gunpowder, these can turn into the entire platform for entire genres of experimental technologies, from fireworks to rockets. We've built ingenious tools to travel and to connect with one another for better and worse. We've built tools to track time and to collect data about our world. We've crafted tools to diligently map space and enable our curiosity. And we've built tools to communicate across scales. And sometimes you can really think about the set and setting in which these tools are created, like with the Gutenberg press, and thinking about that as the reason for their catalytic adoption. But the ability to produce and use collections of tools really enabled us to grow entire pockets of power. Our tools have fueled scientific revolutions, resulting in increased systematization and accelerated global dissemination of our collective and cumulative understanding of physics, chemistry, and the world around us. During the Industrial Revolutions, we created tools like machine-powered looms, the spinning jenny in this case, that created immense opportunities for wealth creation through the mass production of textiles, but these also served as tools for oppression as we continue to force children to work in manufacturing. As such, tools have the ability to consolidate power and wealth, to oppress as well as to exacerbate systemic issues. It makes it very important for us to really think critically about what it means to design tools. Our resistance to technology is also historical. While we use the term Luddite to describe a person opposed to technology, this phrase really came from a movement involving frame breakers, people opposed to mechanization in textiles and oppression through technology. This revolutionary act of technological destruction was eventually punishable by death by 1812. And so we're really thinking about this sort of grander scheme of tool building. Our practices, our values, our knowledge can be really channeled, amplified, or codified as tools for good, as tools for empire. And as such, our tools can help us expand across continents and oceans, bringing our ways to being on bear to people that we've never even met before. But our tools can also try to help us be better, to try to create new futures as we really reimagine the types of societies that we want to live in. Our tools have proved instrumental in driving our revolutions, right? By the 18th and 19th centuries, humans were designing tools with a manufacturing mindset, engineering machines and machine tools and mechanized systems that harness water and steam power. The tools we have built have the power to transform the earth and our society. The technological revolution of the late 18th to early 20th centuries was marked by exponential growth. The development of steel and iron-making processes let us design complex engines, larger-than-life buildings, bridges, and transportation systems with dramatic social and environmental impacts. So the tools that we have built really have this power to transform Earth and our society. There are consequences for what we do. But there are far-reaching, long-term social and political impacts because of how we design and even build technological infrastructure. South Asian indentured laborers were brought to East Africa by British colonialists to construct the very railroads that they used as they fled Uganda during the Idi Amin regime. Consider then that technology is this interweaving of useful devices, technical systems, philosophical ideals, institutional arrangements, and civic practices that together express the quality of life in any political society. Another way to trace technological change and the interacting influences of science, technology, and society is to consider the role of networked infrastructures and peoples in this era of rapid growth. In the 19th century, there were a lot of cholera outbreaks as we had poor water infrastructure. In this particular case, you can actually see an early map that was created by a statistician, John Snow, that marks where different cholera outbreaks actually happened. And you could start to see that the source of these outbreaks was coming from specific pumps. This encouraged rethinking the way in which we built our cities as, they were not just individual buildings and individual roads and individual communities, but these were connected infrastructures. And so we really started to think about the reform of water infrastructure, right? In London, the Metropolis Water Act in the 1850s really helped catalyze that reform, right? The River Thames was literally stinking. And you can see the impact of this, right? There are entire sewage networks, water networks that now drive most of our society, and we kind of just take it for granted, right? These spread across to the New World. And so you can see in this particular image, right, you have that same networked infrastructure approach in America by the late 1800s. But infrastructure and networks weren't just in water, right? We saw the same effect in electricity when there was a single innovation. In this particular case, we're looking at an image of the Tesla coil, the first Tesla coil, that then catalyzed this networking of electricity, right? So energy generation goes from being siloed occurrences of energy to now entire infrastructures. And this is like magical transformation, right? People felt like it was magic. So in the Americas, we started to see the effects of connected power as even rural spaces were receiving electricity, and that really laid the foundation for much greater transformations. If we sort of zoom forward a little bit more, we can really then start to see this emergence of communication networks, right? Networks and infrastructure were more than just about water and electricity. They were also about the ways in which we speak to each other. In this particular case, we're looking at the original submarine cable routes in 1901, right? So people were actually using these for telegraph. That was early communication networks. From there, we then had telephones, right? When Bell Company started to actually put in different kinds of communication lines across the United States, it meant that we now had this private communication network. This kind of started this large era of rapid growth. People were moving things and ideas across oceans, again, for better and worse. And entire industries were being transformed by this approach of designing networked infrastructure. So what does this all really mean, right? When we're thinking about design as we zoom back out, we can really think about it in terms of the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene has been decided, it's not necessarily a defined or settled geological epoch, but it really describes this time period defined by significant human impact in the world around us. And the significant human impact involved humans shaping the earth through the creation of these large-scale infrastructures and this really technocentric mindset. And so you can really see that this evolution of technology is in fact multicultural, it's multifaceted, it's multitudinous. We're building on each other's ideas and knowledge, sometimes taking without consent, other times learning how to work together to really start to think about creating mutually supportive technologies. But really, we were transforming our entire world, right? This period is sometimes known as the Great Acceleration. And you can kind of see this trajectory sort of zoom into high speed as we come into the modern era. The marriage of advances in science and engineering led to that electrification and then fueled our ongoing relationship with coal. We networked our environment through these railroads, sewage systems, even the telegraph, right? And we really started connecting and amplifying our impacts on the world. And this has only gotten stronger and more connected as we sort of come into the modern age.